wouldn't we have to put a sticker on every single thing that we buy?
Yes.
Because every single thing in every store is brought to the store by a truck. And every single item has some oil and gas impact. It becomes very unwieldy and ridiculous when you think about it like that. But
they are burning wood. They are importing wood from Canada. They are importing wood from the United States to burn for power, much like our cavemen brethren did many years ago.
Is it arranges gatherings for young people to meet in a cafe and a park where they put their phones away and they do old-fashioned things like play games, read books, have conversations, do badminton. I don't know if that's still a thing, but they do stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really all about finding out what life was like before the internet.
So cruising is really a great way to see a lot of different places all in one trip. They do the cooking, they do the cleaning. You, like Mandy said, you unpack once, you travel from port to port, and your stuff is with you.
Hello and welcome. I'm Deborah Flora, and this is my friend Mandy.
I'm Mandy Connell, and this is my friend Deborah. And together we are Mandy and Deb. Okay, high five. We have to high five. Because we've been terrible at that, and we're finally getting it. So I needed a moment of celebration.
Yes,
for us.
Indeed. And I needed that
Just
moment
a tiny
too.
bit,
So
yeah.
thank you.
Speaking of moments, take a moment, hit that subscribe button right there at the bottom of the channel. That way you won't miss an episode of this or any of the other great shows on IITV. Thanks to the Independence Institute for hosting us here.
Yes,
so
indeed.
Take a moment and do that, right? Do us a solid, as the kids say.
Absolutely. And then also follow us on our Facebook page at Mandy and Deb. And because we're fancy, it is an ampersand at Mandy ampersand Deb. That's just really hard to say.
That's actually my middle name. I didn't know if you knew that Mandy ampersand was my. I'm just kidding. No,
I did not know that. Wow. See, you tune in, you find out stuff that really doesn't matter to your life, but you are better for it. Anyway, do follow us on Facebook because we want to hear from you.
Today on the show, we've got a couple really good guests for you. One of them is a longtime friend of mine who also happens to be a dynamite travel agent. And we're going to talk about summer travel, destinations, why cruising is the best. I'm just saying it's my personal favorite. But first, we're going to talk to another one of my favorite people. He has been a longtime energy advocate here in Colorado, and now he is the executive director. Oh, wait a minute. I jumped right ahead, didn't I?
That is okay.
I got so excited.
Sorry.
I jumped right to
now
our guest.
I need a little tiny drum roll because it's such a big moment now that I've learned to
click the clicky.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
See, we're already behind.
We've got issues.
We've got issues, however you want to take that.
Now let me launch into introducing. This is a semi-professional television show, so please just bear with us. Now I can tell you about Dan Haley. He is a longtime energy advocate here in Colorado, and now he's the executive director of Coloradans for a responsible energy development. We just call it CRED, where I'm from. He's got cred.
He's got cred.
Yes, very much. Dan Haley, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks for having me on. And there is no ampersand.
No ampersand. He's not fancy.
There you go.
I have to say, I told Deborah, I said, I was at happy hour with Dan Haley because Dan's famous. Everyone knows him in Colorado, everyone who matters. And I said,
I know you. I matter.
She knows. I said, we had the best conversation about some of the craziest things that people are doing in the name of saving the climate. And Dan, without impugning their motives, right? Can we have a moment to discuss like when good intentions are completely devoid of common sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I see it all the time. It happens here in Colorado. It's happening across the globe. And again, you don't want to impugn intentions because a lot of people come at this from a very pure place. And I certainly understand that. But sometimes the solution or the prescription makes absolutely no sense. And in fact, is counterintuitive and works against what they're trying to do in terms of being cleaner and greener.
So let's talk about those things that we're trying to make it make sense. Let's start in, I believe let's start in Britain, because I love this story the most. Like I saw this and I love this. What is Britain doing to fight climate change? What are they doing, Dan?
Yeah. So many many days your head just feels like it's going to explode. This is one of those moments. So England has banned fracking. They don't want to drill for hydraulically fracture for gas. And so they have decided they're going to be clean, and they shut down one of their coal plants rather than replacing it with natural gas,
Sure.
which seems to be a good thing. They've shut it down. They said we've ended 50 years of coal power generation, and we have the United Kingdom's single largest generator of renewable electricity. Okay, sounds great.
Yeah.
They are burning wood. They are importing wood from Canada. They are importing wood from the United States to burn for power, much like our cavemen brethren did many years ago.
That's the image I get, by the way. I would call this a Neanderthal method. And how, what I think is interesting too, because I love the environment. I grew up in Colorado. We all want the same thing. But how do those who are the activists feel about now the depletion of all of the timber in Canada for this?
Well, they're using wood pellets. They're getting it from the United States. They're getting it from Canada. And what's interesting about this is their ratepayers are giving them money because this is a renewable resource. So they're getting money to burn wood for this, and it's treated as emission-free because of the international climate policies say that the emissions are where the trees are cut down. So the United States, Canada, whomever gets the emission for it, this is an emission-free facility, and it is emitting 12 million tons of carbon dioxide each year. The second largest emitter in Great Britain is 5 million tons.
Oh
this is emitting more than coal, more than gas. It is considered renewable, and it is considered emission-free, and it's emitting 12 million tons of carbon every year.
Dan,
in the name of being clean and green.
I'm assuming that they're bringing the wood and the wood pellets over on sailing ships, right? So there's no emissions from shipping, because it's my understanding that shipping is one of the greatest emitters of CO2. So if you're concerned about that, seems that shipping stuff from across the Atlantic Ocean isn't also the smartest thing to do.
Yeah, that's absolutely what's happening. Yeah. And you'll see in many cases, we are punting our environmental issues to other parts of the planet and having other folks deal with it. And that's what the case is here.
Yeah, that is so great. Just to reiterate, anyone who is still like their mind is swirling like mine, that means that if I buy my car in Detroit, but I have emissions here, Detroit gets blamed for my emissions. That's what we're saying.
Correct.
It's not where they're actually burning the timber, which is more polluting than coal. That is pretty crazy.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
Dan,
absolutely. And this is it's considered biomass. So it is considered a renewable energy. So when you see the renewable energy numbers around the world, the United States, Colorado, it's important to look at what that means. Is that wind? Is that solar? Is it biomass? And if it's biomass, is it burning wood? And in many cases, almost a majority of cases, it is. And I would argue that is not an environmental solution.
so let me ask you a follow-up question about burning biomass. So if we do know that in poorer nations, especially African nations where they don't have great electricity, they're still burning dung as well to cook and to create, they're burning dung in their homes to create heat for their families.
Yes.
Does that also count as biomass?
I don't believe that counts as biomass, but I don't know.
That's a renewable
sure.
resource, if ever there was one. So
there you go.
It is a huge issue, though. Indoor air pollution is one of the largest issues in those developing countries because they are burning wood inside their homes for heat and to cook and their food along with dung. So indoor air pollution is a huge concern. So we talk a lot about air quality here in this country. We're all concerned about it. As Deb mentioned, we all care about the environment. We all want clean air. We don't understand what's happening in parts of the world where 1 billion people wake up and they don't have access to electricity. They don't have access to clean water. They're living much different lives than we are. And I believe they deserve that same access to energy that we have had and electricity that we have had for all these years.
Absolutely.
we don't have to go to a third world country to find great examples. Let's just zip on over to California. Let's talk about California reducing their oil production by 50%. That's a good thing, Dan, right?
Yeah, so California wants to be clean and green as well. They've reduced their oil production by 60%. The issue here is they have not reduced their consumption of oil or natural gas. So they continue to rely on foreign countries and not foreign states, excuse me, other states for their natural gas production. But for their oil, they're getting 76% of it imported in. Even even Governor Gavin Newsom has conceded this is not an environmental solution. But what really struck me was I read in a New York Times article about 2 years ago that half of the oil developed in the Amazon rainforest is, again, to your point, Mandy, being shipped across the ocean and is ending up in California, where they claim to be clean and green. So 1 in every 9 tanks of gasoline, diesel fuel, or jet fuel pumped in California comes from the Amazon rainforest.
This,
While they have their own resources in California. Kern County, California can produce that oil that they need, and they're instead deciding to get it from Venezuela, Ecuador, and the Amazon rainforest.
And the thing about it is it sounds like a shell game. It doesn't matter that we are actually using the same amount, burning the same amount. We're just getting it from somewhere else. And what I hate about that, getting it from somewhere else, whether it's getting from Russia, where we're funding this entire machine that's giving money to our enemies, it's also such filthy oil and gas, creating much more pollution. And then I think if you told somebody that was, yay, California, but they're getting it from the Amazon rainforest, that's a trade-off.
What used to be the Amazon rainforest before it was clear-cut to make room for oil and gas operations that don't maintain or follow the same standards that we follow in the United States of America. But I'm sure it'll be fine, Dan. I'm sure it'll be fine. Nothing to worry about that.
Absolutely will.
A little bit closer to home, Colorado has its own new level of stupidity. Tell me about the stickers on the gas pumps that are supposed to make me, the consumer, I think, feel so guilty that I just park my car and start walking from here on out, but I'm not sure. What is Colorado trying to do?
So this was a bill that was introduced to the legislature this year. The good news is it was killed in the Senate. The bad news is it passed the House, and you're likely to see something like this come back again. So they wanted to create a warning label that you would require gas stations to put on their pumps, require people who sold products that use gasoline to say, warning, this use of this product contributes to global heating and could be hazardous to your health. But what they also did was they put up to a $20,000 fine if this label went missing. If a consumer or somebody else damaged it, ripped it off, the gas station didn't know about it, they could be fined up to $20,000. And what was really frustrating about this for a lot of the retailers and people who own gas stations is, I'm not going to ascribe motives to the sponsors here, but they're probably trying to punish oil and gas companies. But what they would be doing is punishing mom and pops who own all of the retail gasoline stations here in Colorado, up to $20,000, very prescriptive. It needed to be 16-point size, all these different things to put this warning label like you put on cigarettes. And the idea was to educate people about, pollution and climate change. But what the effect is forced speech in many ways.
Yes.
And people understand. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing when they're putting gasoline in their cars. People in this state are worried about getting to work, making a living, doing all these things. They don't need a warning label on their gas pumps. But as I said, fortunately, that died in the Senate this year.
Yeah, and what I think is so interesting, you just compared it to a warning label on cigarettes, and I think that's that's okay. Put that on there so people know. But let's find out the truth, because we are all for the truth. We're not just against good solutions, and I think everybody wants to innovate and have better energy sources. So you've been in the oil and gas industry for a long time. What is actually the truth? If you were to put a label on that gas pump that gave the truth of oil and gas, tell us the truth about how oil and gas is now for the environment.
Yeah. So as I said, they're trying to make it about cigarettes. And again, you don't need cigarettes, right? But this is a product that we all need and use every single day in our lives. You'll hear me talk a lot about how we're doing it in this state cleaner, better, and safer than most anywhere on the planet. We've got the data that shows our emissions have gone down more than 50% while our production was going up. Ethane's down, methane's down, VOCs are all down. Again, that is good news because we need this product every day to survive. It keeps us alive in the wintertime when it is really cold. It keeps us cool in the summertime when it's really hot. And it's in every single thing that we use. It's in plastic, it's in our clothing, it's in all of these things. And again, it's essential that we develop that resource here in this country because we need it. We're going to need it for the long foreseeable future. And there are real geopolitical goals here, right? If we're able to be, the short answer is the world is safer when the United States is producing this energy. And if we want it to be produced under these very tough environmental standards, we want it produced here in Colorado.
I would
And
say,
if we
Dan,
scare it out, we're scaring it to someplace else, right? Again, we're punting our issues to some other place on the planet that doesn't have the same environmental, labor standards, or human rights standards that we have.
to the point about those stickers, and I said this on my radio show when I heard about this bill, wouldn't we have to put a sticker on every single thing that we buy?
Yes.
Because every single thing in every store is brought to the store by a truck, and every single item has some oil and gas impact. It becomes very unwieldy and ridiculous when you think about it like that. But the reality is, to your point, I do think they were trying to punish oil and gas, and they were going to send minions out to levy $25,000 fines over and over again.
Yeah, and one place where it create great chaos is going to any hospital, and almost every single medical item has petroleum products in it. So imagine going to a hospital going, "Warning, warning, this could hurt you." I mean, it's inane and a little insane.
One of these makes sense ideas too. During COVID, all the people that want to put us out of business suddenly found themselves using this product, relying on this product, whether you're putting up plastic sheeting outside of a restaurant and putting a propane tank in there to heat it, or using plastic vials to produce, to deliver the vaccine, the cold storage needed for the vaccine, to get the vaccine out across the country, all relied on oil and gas. Oil and gas helped pull us out of a moment like that. And here we were, as soon as it's over, you're trying to get rid of it again. And to scare people about using a product that we all need every day.
I think we're a little bit too spoiled, Dan, in that you mentioned over 1 billion people in the world walk over to the wall and there is no light switch. And over 1 billion people in the world don't have the opportunity to have an argument about whether electric stoves or gas stoves are better because they don't have that option available to them. And I would make the argument that oil and gas specifically and coal have been responsible for so much of the human flourishing that we enjoy today. I don't know how to reiterate that for people. I don't know how, other than to send them to live in one of those places where they don't have a light switch on the wall for just a couple weeks, so they can truly appreciate how good we have it here with the access that we have.
Yeah.
It's 100% that human flourishing,
Yes.
and that's exactly where we are. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Deb.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that's 100% where we are with this. And we don't want to have one of those moments where the grid collapses because we have put unreliable energy onto the grid. Again, we should not freeze to death in this country. We should not have people who die of heat exhaustion. Every summer, people die of heat exhaustion in California because their power goes out and they don't have their AC. Rolling brownouts has become the norm there. That should be not the norm for a country like the United States. We have the resources and power we need. We need the political will to use them and to develop them.
Yeah, I
And
think that's
I'll point out one other thing real quick if I could. There's an app called Windy, or a website you can look at real-time carbon, different filters you can put on this. And it's really interesting when you look at it. The interior West, there's not much happening here. You don't see a lot of carbon pollution. There's not a lot of people. There's not a lot of cars. There's not a lot of industry. You go to the coastlines, there's a little more. You go to Europe, it's a little darker still. And then you go to China and India, and it's a big black smudge over the map. And again, not defending China, but we've asked them to make our stuff for us, and they don't have the same environmental standards that we do. And guess what happens? The wind blows and all those things come back into our state. And suddenly we're asked as the oil and gas industry to reduce our greenhouse gases or to reduce our VOCs because of, emissions issues or, ozone issues. Most of that is blowing in from China and other states. So you can punt your environmental issues someplace else, but the wind's going to blow and bring it right back to you.
Dan Haley is the Executive Director of Coloradans for Responsible Energy Development. You can just call it CRED. You can find him online at cred.org. Dan, a joy to see you, my friend, and you are such a tireless advocate for the energy that we all need and rely on. Let's be real. I don't want to walk. I'm going to be free. I don't want to walk any more than I have to. I want nice things. I want to turn on the light switch. I want a microwave that works. The little things in life.
Well,
all I
that's what
want.
advancement is. Yeah. Thank you so much, Dan. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
All
absolutely.
right.
And I find it interesting too, because talking to Dan previously about this as well, what motivates people to improve is what happens in free industry, not when it's
Right.
forced. And the improvements that have happened in the oil and gas industry to make things clean, it's amazing. So,
And we do it better than anybody else.
Yep.
The United States does. Speaking of travel,
good
'cause
segue.
segue.
Okay, can I click now?
Yes, please click.
Okay, I'm clicking.
Segue.
We've got stuff.
We've got stuff. And I am so thrilled to have our next guest. I've known this woman since we were knee-high to a toad frog, as they say, where I'm
Oh,
from.
that's
I mean, I've
so
known her for forever, but I have an
colloquial.
official introduction that I want to make sure that I get, because I can't just say, this is my friend Jen. I mean, I could. Jen Hataway, as I know her, is a land and cruise specialist, and she works with cruise planners, and she's based in Jupiter, Florida. She specializes in helping travelers like me, and like Deborah is soon to be, plan amazing vacations that are also very low stress. And we're going to kind of talk about, I never really used a
Yes.
travel agent until the last 10 years. I'm hooked. I'm sold. It makes everything so much easier. Jen Hataway, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, it is summer travel season. People are going places. People are looking for new destinations. I think there are a lot of people who, after COVID, were kind of ready to go. And I thought it would be interesting to just talk about some of the destinations this summer that you're seeing a lot of activity to. Like, let's talk about the hot destinations right now.
Okay, so if you want to go to Europe, the trifecta is always a great one, and that is London, Paris, and really anywhere in Italy. Those are the big three. If you have never traveled to Europe before, I would tell you to go to one of those places. The people there are lovely. They don't hate us, don't listen to other people. They speak English, even though they also speak other languages. They almost all know how to speak other languages, including English. So it's an easy place to go, kind of dip your toe into the European waters, and then you'll be hooked and you'll be going back any minute. If you want to go somewhere a little more exotic, Mandy, I know you're going soon. Japan
Yes.
is very hot. Thailand, and also some of the islands like Bali.
Love French
Those
Polynesia.
all sound great. Well, I want to ask this question because you can help me right here live during the show. My husband and I are about to celebrate our 25th wedding anniversary, and we have been talking about cruises. So I may also talk to you after this show about this as well. But talk about some of
Absolutely.
the places for cruising, particularly I hear the Mediterranean is a good place to go.
So the Mediterranean is easy because the countries are all so closely knit that you can literally bounce from country to country. Every day you could be in a new country. And a lot of times they'll kind of zigzag. They might go Italy, Greece, Turkey, back to Greece, back to Italy. And so you get kind of a little European flair. There's also a lot of islands or countries that are close together in Scandinavia. You can go to Norway, and then in a minute you're in Sweden, and you're in Finland, and you can get to the Bruges, and you can get to Amsterdam. So the countries being really close together in the Med and the Baltic, it makes it really easy to see lots of different places kind of all in one trip.
Are there any deals to be had? I saw a story recently that said with sort of the economic situation, maybe the politics of the world right now, that people are not booking those Mediterranean trips. Are there deals to be had this summer still, especially on last minute stuff?
So the word deal is kind of a little misnomer. A deal means that somebody found something they were really excited about and they felt that it was really worthy, right? So I just want to make sure so everybody can get a deal, but a good deal for you might not be a treasure to someone else, but there are ways to get good deals. First of all, use a travel agent. We get the deals. You don't pay us. The agencies, the cruise lines, the tour companies, they pay us, and we know where they're hidden. But also think about things like going during shoulder season. If you go during peak, they can upcharge because that's when everybody really wants to get there. So the shoulder seasons are kind of the months on either side of peak season. So if you want to go to Europe, Summer is its really busy time.
Yeah.
So maybe think about going in March, early April, or maybe think about going maybe in late September, October. Also, the weather during shoulder season is usually very mild. So it's also very comfortable and less crowded. You also might want to think about deals that you qualify for. Are you a teacher? Are you a first responder? Are you do you have a military discount, or maybe even some loyalty points or programs available?
I'd like to ask you, first of all, I'm a big advocate of not traveling in the middle of summer. We do right now because my daughter is still in school, so that makes it more challenging. But when Chuck and I plan a trip, October for me in Europe is absolutely pitch perfect. It is so lovely. The weather is great. You don't have to deal with a bunch of tourists. You can actually like get into the Louvre and get within 20 feet of the Mona Lisa. So I'm a huge fan of shoulder season. Can we talk for a second? Have you been on a cruise before,
I've
Deb?
been on one cruise, and right now I am planning my next one as I'm listening to you. So
I
yes.
love LOVE cruising. I know some people like scoff at it, but let me tell you something. Unpacking one time.
Yes.
That for me, plus if you go on a nicer cruise line, I'm not denigrating any cruise lines, but I like to go bougie, and it's so lovely and the service is amazing. And then to Jen's point, you're in a different city every day, right? Like you just go in and have an adventure. And sometimes we see places that we really want to go back to. And sometimes we see places like, check, that's off the box and I never have to go there again.
Right.
You know, when we talk about cruising, that's why I love cruising. But I mean, Jen, you cruise as well.
I do. So cruising is really a great way to see a lot of different places all in one trip. They do the cooking, they do the cleaning. You, like Mandy said, you unpack once, you travel from port to port, and your stuff is with you. You don't have to spend time going and checking into hotels, checking out. Also think about traveling in another country. A lot of places drive on the left, which for us here, that is very stressful. Even just watching it and being a passenger sometimes just it's like, what is happening right now? So I don't want to drive there. And they travel me from port to port or place to place. And that's a really nice thing. And also, when you're on a cruise, you are already cleared through customs in all the places you're going ahead of time. So you give your passport information when you get on the ship, and they clear you through customs. So every time you get on and off the ship, it's literally just, hi, I'm getting off the ship now. Hi, I'm back. And that's a really lovely thing. I think one of the other really great things is that there really is something for everyone. If you want to go on a popular, more budget-friendly cruise ship, they have them. There's also the bougie, more luxe, luxury boutique type
That
of,
would be me.
I know,
Yes,
girl,
yes.
type of cruise lines, and they're out there for us. There are cruise lines that are adult only. If you're at that point in your life and this is something that is important to you, they're there. And there's a lot of them. But there's also a lot of really family friendly, and the ships are designed to entice families to go on them. So that's a really nice thing, because sometimes being on a boat with family, you just need your little nooks and crannies, and they have daycare and they have things for the kids to do, like arcades and skating rinks, ice skating rinks, bowling alleys. It's a lot out there. And then probably thinking about just the excursions, where some cruise lines have the excursions. There's a free excursion in every port, and so you don't have to add on that extra cost to pick an excursion. There's one already planned for you. Or if you'd like to try something else and you really had something in mind, you can pay a little extra and do that. And then some of the other more budget-friendly cruise lines just let you pick what you want to do. And so you pay for it. You say, that's what I want to do, and you go do it. And some people never get off the ship. I also want to say, when you get into port, you have almost the whole ship to yourself.
Yeah.
Almost everyone gets off. And so if you're on a ship that you love and the food's great and the ship is beautiful and there's lots to do, like spas and just fun things to do, you have the entire ship all by yourself. Just stay on board and enjoy what you paid for.
But by the way, you had me at they clean and they take care, they cook for you. That's amazing. I have a question for you.
And some of them will do your laundry.
Yes.
Okay, can I live on a ship? I
yes,
just
you can. That's a whole thing. We'll do another show on that one because I'm planning on that.
So I
wrote it down. I was like, oh, I got to talk about that.
Oh, good. You had to. So Jen, it's so interesting because I think the last time, and this is my bad, but the last time I really interacted with a travel agent was, I think one of our earlier anniversaries. And then I just presumed that the industry's changed so much, you just kind of have to figure it out yourself. And honestly, that's why I haven't done some things. Tell me about, you were saying, for instance, we wouldn't pay a travel agent, so that is an extra cost. And tell me about your industry now and being a travel agent. I think that's a huge find.
So I was a teacher for 30 something years, and you develop a lot of skills of multitasking and being able to have a lot of things happening around you while your hair's on fire and, the kids are running crazy. So I think those skills have really helped because there's a lot of things to learn about. Each cruise ship company is different and they offer different things. And so there's a lot, it's a lot to navigate. And it's
Pun
not
intended.
just the cruise ships.
Navigation.
Good one.
Yeah,
Good one.
a navigation joke. There you go. Anyway.
But I think there's just a lot to know. And, I have an internet too, and it's a black hole. You can get on the internet and start on one site and you've got 61 tabs open in an hour because one thing leads to another. What's that?
I said, that was me yesterday until we had this conversation.
Mm-hmm. So Jen,
well,
I do think that it's something that people have gotten out of the habit of, but as there are so many different options and there are so many different options, and we haven't even talked about river cruising, which is my favorite cruising because it is the bougiest cruising. This is why having an agent like Jen or, a cruise specialist or whatever can help you navigate, pun intended, through this process and help you find the right cruise line for you. Because as Jen mentioned, there's so many different options. And I've been on cruises where I did not belong on that ship. And it's not fun.
Do tell. No, that's a whole nother
I'm not
segment.
I'm not a party person.
Yes.
And I ended up on a party ship. And it just wasn't the right fit for me. And luckily I'd been on other cruises. So I kind of was like, this is a one-off and we won't do this again. So it's important to get the right person. And my friend Jen Hataway is that person. So Jen, thank you so much for your knowledge. We're going to put her contact information, her website, all that stuff in the description of the show. So all you have to do is go down and check it out if you need help. And Deborah will have a full review of her experience with Jen.
Because I will race you to that phone number because Jen, I will be calling you.
Yep.
I cannot wait. We are going to make sure you have the best time.
Thank you, Jen Hataway, cruise specialist with Cruise Planners. Thank you for your time. I'll talk to you soon, lady.
Bye.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, that makes me happy. We are going to be taking this show on the road. Executive decision has just been made, or onto the sea.
I'm ready. Sign me up. Can you imagine, like the Mandy? Well, we do this with the Mandy Connell listeners, who are all the nicest people in the world. So I'd almost be afraid, like, what if you guys suck? I don't know. I'm just kidding. You don't suck.
I think all of you out there are lovely. Come join us on a cruise.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, that's a good segment a good transition, because that is good news to me that we're going to take this show on the cruise, on the road. But we do always like to end with good news because it's too often we can only focus on the negative, and there's so many good things out there. So we want to kick it off, and I want to share my first good news story. So having kids, 20 and 21, they're amazing individuals. And we talked about, there's usually a lot of negative things that are said about the younger generation, but this Gen Z is really learning a lot from what they've seen go before them, or a lot of what they've experienced. And so it's interesting. We've gone from Steve Jobs, who made, the iPad, the iPhone, and wouldn't let his kids touch it, to a generation that has literally almost gotten lost in cyberspace. Yeah. And there is a move away from that happening now. And I want to share a couple of statistics. I just was reading that there was a study in Britain that 68% of British teenagers, and Pew confirmed this, 72% of US teenagers or Gen Zers around that age, all have decided and said they feel better when they're off their phone. That's 68% and 72%. So first of all, good on you, mom and dad, if you've been saying that to them, because they actually are beginning to realize that, but it's something for us too. But what's popping up all over the place that I love, there's something popping up across Europe, and I hope that it takes off here as well. And they're called offline clubs. And Now, what's really funny about it is, by the way, they happen to have a lot of internet followers. So it's kind of an oxymoron,
yes.
like 53,000 followers on Instagram for this one European, it's called the Offline Club. But all it does is it arranges gatherings for young people to meet in a cafe and a park where they put their phones away and they do old-fashioned things like play games, read books, have conversations, do badminton. I don't know if that's still a thing, but they do stuff like that.
Mhm.
And it's really all about finding out what life was like before the internet.
Back in olden time.
Back in my times when I climbed uphill both ways to school.
With boxes on your feet in the snow. No, my daughter just turned 16.
Yes.
So she had a party for her birthday and her girlfriends came over and they hooted and hollered and laughed and carried on. And then they rode around the neighborhood in the back of one of the girls' trucks, had the best time ever. And the next morning I said to my daughter, you realize that was every Saturday night when I was a teenager.
Yes.
And that you can do this
Yep.
every Saturday night with your friends because she has great friends.
Yep.
There won't be streamers and cake, but you can have them all over on a Saturday anytime. And she's like, I know, Mom. They've just forgotten how to be together.
But
this is the COVID kids, you know?
It is. And I think there's a longing for it, though. Even our son, who's in college, and now he's in his first apartment over the summer between college years. And he and a bunch of guys that are on the football team that are there have all decided to limit their phone usage.
Good for
And they
them.
get on each other about it, which is great. One other thing that I think, maybe we'll do a cruise together. And then also we should do one of these and just see what happens. They actually have detox resort weekends where you literally put your phone away. This is online detox. You don't bring your computer with you and you go an entire weekend without any connection. And I don't know if you can see people twitching there or what.
The
but I
sad
think it'd
thing
be
is that
good.
once you just lean in, it's perfectly fine.
It's totally
And this is why
fine.
if you get on a cruise ship and you don't buy the Wi-Fi package, you've done the same thing.
There you go.
Only with drinks and someone cleaning your room twice a day.
I like it. I'm in.
All right, so my good news is actually sad good news, but it's good
Oh,
news.
okay.
A family, Hunter Metzger, had a Great Dane named Iris. And Iris was 8 years old. And Iris got a respiratory infection, and it was clear that Iris, even after medication, was not getting better. So they decided to give Iris her big last meal before they took her to the vet to have her put down because she was not doing well. So they ordered up from Texas Roadhouse, and they did an online order for pickup. And on the online order, they wrote in the notes, last meal for our dog, please prepare with love. And they
Aw.
ordered Iris an 8-ounce New York strip with fries, mashed potatoes, and bread. And when they got the container at home, it had written on it, made with love. And so Texas Roadhouse was very concerned. They wrote that on the thing. They talked to him when he got there. Then they refunded the money for the meal.
Oh,
And it was
that's
just, it's one of those
great.
things. And I always think of Chewy.com. Do you use Chewy? This is not a paid advertisement, but Chewy, call us. Chewy has established themselves as being the caring pet company.
Aw.
And if you lose an animal and you have a standing order and you call to cancel it, I now know probably 10 people that Chewy has sent flowers to because of the
Oh.
death of their pet. And these are the little things about customer service that I think make such a huge impact because they're so isolated and we have so few of them. So here's this family losing their pet, their family dog child, and Texas Roadhouse, by just writing something on the top, letting them know, we heard you, we saw you, and we're so sorry about your dog. It's
Yeah.
those little tiny things that make the difference for so many people. And you never know what someone is going through when you make that tiny effort. So
Yeah.
just kind of a reminder that even in sad times, good things can happen.
Well, and sometimes there's when it happens the most, because that's when
Yeah.
someone is in need. And I think the word kind, I love that word because it can be looked at as so weak, but kind is actually one of the most devastatingly powerful
Yeah.
things that human beings can be towards one another. And it always melts my heart when I see it, or when I experience it, when I receive it, and when I hopefully have a chance to do it to others. And that's why we also have the kindness challenge every week. What is your
Yes.
kindness challenge?
The kindness challenge today is a very, very simple one. And if you're retired, I was trying to figure out how to do this for retired people. But if you're still working, I don't have one for retired people, but if you're active in clubs, you can do this too. But if you're still working, I want you to go to work tomorrow and I want you to find somebody that you work with, maybe not directly, and I want you to just walk up and say, I just want you to know that thing you did, whatever it was, and you have to have something they did, really helped me. And I really appreciate what you've done. We actually just had an employee get laid off at iHeart after 25 years. She has been an absolute godsend for me on so many ways that are not worth going into. But Daphne, if you're watching, I am going to miss you so much because you have made my work life that much better. And I know she's going to be amazing at wherever she ends up. But I've now started telling the people that I work with how much I appreciate all those little things that just make it a better place to be.
I love that. I love that. We were having a conversation within our family about this last week or so, where compliments or kind thoughts are the easiest gifts to give.
Yes.
It costs you nothing. And oftentimes we think nice things and we never say it, but it can be a priceless gift, particularly just at the moment that someone needs it. So, Mandy, I think you rock. I really
You're
mean
amazing.
that.
All those text messages I don't respond to.
I know.
They're so good.
I know.
I so appreciate
I feel your
you.
love even when you ignore me. Thank you so much for that.
That's how I show love.
My kindness challenge is this. Don't answer that text because it goes in line with what we were saying about these offline clubs that are going on. I just say, if you have family members, if you've got kids at home, or maybe it's just you and your spouse or your roommate, put the phones down and have an old-fashioned game night. We do it and we love it. I mean, we've got our kids, even when they were teenagers, would sit around and we would play Phase 10, we'd play Scrabble. We actually got my grandmother's old Scrabble thing and found her writing from back in the 40s. And my husband and I love it so much. We've taken Phase 10 and we are overachievers. We have made it into Phase 30.
I like it.
And
I like that.
I
We're
tell
an
you,
Uno family
I
more than a
love
Phase
Uno.
10 family, but
Yes.
we do love our Phase 10.
Yeah, because what happens when you turn the phones off, it's really a gift of giving some of your full attention. And I'm speaking to myself. Our kids are that Gen Z that are learning about turning their phones off. Sometimes they remind me because it's that tyranny of the urgent.
Yep.
Put it down, look at the person and say, let's do something without a screen for a little while. So there you go. That's my kindness challenge.
That's your kindness challenge. And my other kindness challenge would be kind. Hit the subscribe button below.
Right there.
And then go
That's
to
kind to
Facebook
us.
and find us, Mandy and & Deb, and join us on our Facebook page for more conversation and send us your great ideas.
Yes.
That would be kind.
And to clarify, it's not Mandy and & Deb. Don't
It's
use
just
both of them. It's Mandy
ampersand.
Deb on Facebook.
Yeah.
We want to hear from you because this is your show, even though it's called
Mandy and Deb. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.
Take care.